Okay, so by now, if you've reached this point, you're going to want to copy the colors of your logo exactly. And I've already started with a simple line drawing of the logo I was demoing in class. One thing I will say, yours should look neater than mine. I did it quickly so that I could get to the color. So I'm going to keep this on as I get started. To start with, the tool you're really going to use is the eyedropper tool and the selection tool. I'm going to start with the banner. So I'm going to click this line, and it's a completed shape. That way there won't be any problems with color. I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool. If you look, it says hotkey eye. So I'm going to click eye, and I'm going to sample that maroon color in the background. And click, and see how it's changed color. But if I turn that off, I see that I have these yellows and oranges in there, so I need to do some more color adding. So I'm going to repeat the process. I see that this yellow and this yellow are the same, so I'm going to just sample from there. And I'm going to do it again for that little bit. This part should take you the least amount of time because all you're doing is matching colors. And I got into isolation mode. That means that it's only working with this. Normally you don't want that, so you just click the arrows until that disappears. Click all of the letters, because in this case, all of those letters involve the same color. So rather than having to color each individual one, I'm just going to do it all at once. Grab the eyedropper tool, click. But then you've got those lovely circles in between the D's, O's, and B's, so you want to go back in and fix that. Your logo is going to be slightly different than mine, because you're using a different logo most likely. Now I noticed that, oops, I sampled the wrong orange. Now I'm looking for an exact replica when I grade these for you, so I'm going to grab that off of this layer. I'm going to unlock this layer real quick and grab this color, and I'm just going to copy and paste it. This is an HTML code. It tells you what the place on the color wheel that color is found. And I'm going to show that again. Make sure I'm selecting the right layer, and I'm going to go back and select all the letters. Just going to double click on my fill, and this is highlighted, so I'm just going to paste. If I turn it on enough, we get the correct color going again. Okay, so if I turn this off, I've got my Double Fine logo happening exactly where it should be. It's covering up the circles as it should be. So let's continue. So I'm going to go in, and I'm actually going to fill in the little character now. So I'm going to make sure I lock those colors again. Again, the way I designed it, I did this as a separate shape, this is a separate shape. Every place there was a different color, I made a different shape, and that is a good strategy because it makes coloring these in super easy. So I'm going to sample this maroon, and it may look like I've just colored in everything. I did not do that. It just means that the other lines have no fill to them, so we want to change that. And sometimes I got to turn it on and off to remember which one is which. So let's see. And I'm actually going to start using the hotkeys. I'm going to grab my keyboard and be toggling, going back and forth between the selection tool and the eyedropper tool. So I'm going to use V for the selection tool, hit I, sample that yellow. Hit V again, to see, so I want to get this yellow right here. I'm going to grab that, hit I, sample. Hit V again. Hit I, sample. Hit V again. And so on. Double check, make sure I got everything going correctly. Yeah, looks good so far. To save time, sometimes, if you know there are certain shapes that you've made that are all going to be the same color, like their little feet thing happening right here, just select them both by click one, hold down shift, click another, and you can sample both at the same time. Okay, so moving on, I see that the eyes, they've got a little bit of maroon in them. So I'm going to zoom in. Remember, you should zoom in as much as possible. And as far as I know, I made that shape. Oh, looks like I didn't, so I'm actually going to go back in and make a smaller shape, probably about here. And I'm going to turn this on and off to see. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I'll just copy and paste real quick. This is a good time to show you that, yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time, as long as you make sure to grab everything before you turn it in. So if you're missing like an eye or something, why can't I grab you? Come on. If you're missing an eye or something, you want to make sure you fix that before you turn it in. Now, this is also good because you don't have to worry about whether or not your images have been pixelating. Because, if you guys remember, Illustrator uses vectors, so everything's going to be crisp and clean. It's going to look awesome. A good designer has one hand on the keyboard and one hand on their mouse or drawing tablet, depending on what you're using. Sometimes it can be tricky to grab things. You want to make sure that, sometimes you gotta zoom in, you want to make sure that, come on, you know what you're grabbing before you click and drag. Saves you a bit of undoing. So I asked that you guys stayed away from like coloring until you got everything inked, because this is going to take, inked as in like outlined, because this is going to take me a fraction of the time that the actual pen drawing took. Every once in a while I'll turn it on and off to see how I'm doing. Looks like it's matching. Looks pretty good so far. Last thing that seems to be missing is that little old-timey bathing suit thing. Those bathing suit stripes. So I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to sample. And then I am copying that little code right there. Then I'll go back and select... missed a spot there. Let's change that to yellow real quick. Go back and grab this shape and paste this in. There's no outline. Oh, missed another one. Okay, so if I look at my layers palette, turn this off, the only thing that's really left is the background of that circle. So I'm just going to fix that real quick. And we are almost done. Oh boy, that was fun. Okay, so I grouped that as part of as a way of helping me organize things earlier, but now I realize I don't need that anymore. Now notice how I turned everything yellow. Let's see. So what you have to do, I did not mean to turn everything yellow, so what I have to do is I have to right click, arrange, send backward. And you can also use control and your left bracket. And you notice how other parts of the picture are starting to come through. So I'm going to grab this one, make it, it's not quite maroon. So I'm just going to sample that color. Come on. And then do the same thing, control bracket until it gets to the spot it needs to be. There we go. Two more, and I'm actually going to avoid doing the orange background because I don't feel like we need it right now. But I can use that color. And last one. Sample. And control bracket until it looks finished. Turn that off, and there you go. So now what I can do, I'm going to actually group this whole thing, because our next step is going to be, missed a spot, make sure that you grab everything. I'm going to right click, group, I'm going to resize them just so you can see them to get these two together. Now once I've done all of this copying, I can start, I'm going to ungroup this, I can start grabbing individual shapes and saying, okay, now what do I want to do to modify it, to change this logo, which is going to be the next step in this project. Alright, go ahead and get to work.